Hey, welcome to my channel. I don't know what to say. This is an epic collapse of epic proportions. Quite honestly, it's I don't know what to say. It's like it's '07 and '08 all over again, basically. I'm sorry, '08, '09, whatever. It's just like I'm just like it's even 21 for that matter. Um, I mean, do you? It's like as a fan, as a Mets fan, are we surprised that this was going to happen? Are we surprised? I don't think so. I mean, this is a case where like they should have, this shouldn't have been basically. But if you've seen my earlier videos, you'll see that this is what I was truly concerned with. I was really concerned that the fact that the Mets were on these losing streaks, this wasn't like them. They were like playing it blasely. Basically, it's like we'll pick each other pick each other up next year. Later on in the season. Don't worry, we're not too concerned. My concern was like if they keep playing like this, they were gonna basically not make the playoffs. And lo and behold, this is it. They're not beating the Cubs tonight. They're pretty much done, I think. And they're probably going to be swept by the Cubs. They need to win all 6 games, and they're not doing that. The Mets are not winning 6 games. I'm being realistic. And because they're not going to win all 6 games, they're pretty much out of the wild card. I don't know what happens to Mendoza. Chances are most likely this is most likely that because of this epic proportional collapse, the fact that the Mets were in first place before June with eight games ahead of the Phillies at that time, or 6 games ahead of the Phillies at that time, and then they were 7 games by the end of September, or not by the end of September, by the end of August, uh, ahead of the Reds, and then an epic collapse of this proportion. I mean, it's honestly, it's like a surprise. I mean, Mendoza, I don't know. This is a case where like I think Mendoza, because the fact is like he was too. I don't want to say he was overconfident, but I think he was because of the fact is of like he didn't manage the Mets correctly. Of the point of not doing in-game management. Well, there's still that part, but the other factor is like all the little mistakes, all the mental errors that have occurred. This is like basic 101 training, basic training basically, and like they didn't handle for this. And the thing is Mendoza was never trying to correct him for those situations. Like basically the liability for the Mets was basically their defense, and small ball played a factor into this as a result. And quite honestly, the pitchers themselves. About I mean, I don't know. Like it was a case where like when one hitter was slumping, it seemed like the rest of the team was slumping. Like each player was not picking each other up. Basically, I mean, Batty kind of made up for Vientos here and there when Vientos was like very like not doing so well. Batty was able to pick him up, and then when Vientos was doing well, Batty was like being streaky as well too. Um, I mean, honestly, Manea, I was afraid he was going to revert back to being what he was before the Mets signed him when he was with the San Francisco Giants. Because when he came with the Mets, he slightly altered his pitching style, and then the pitchers. I don't think the hitters were used to it, but now they got used to it, and he's pretty much been where he's at right now. Like pretty much what he was with the Giants, basically. And the Mets made us. I think the Mets made a mistake of re-signing him of that nature. Canning, I mean, honestly, yeah, the fact he was doing decent, but he got injured as well as McGill. Both of them were doing so well in the beginning, and then they just got injured. I mean, that does play a factor, but quite honestly, like Senga, when he got injured, he was doing really well in the beginning, and then after he gets injured, he seems to suck, and it's the same thing right now. Like he's not doing so well in the minors as well, to be quite honest. Everyone's like, "Oh, let's send him to the minors," and then when he clears out his head and like figures out, then we'll bring him back for the playoffs. That's what the case is like. Then he's not coming back into the playoffs because he sucked at the in the minors as well too. I think he needs that full rest. Um, Holmes, I mean, I don't know what to say, but like maybe they pushed him too quickly to become a starter. Maybe he was a mid reliever type of person. It seems like he's a mid reliever. They're hoping maybe he was like maybe a 5 inning type of person, but turns out it's not. Peterson, every now and then he would go the distance, but then every now and then he would just like suck to the good teams. Basically, I don't know what happened with them. Um, it's and the hitters. I mean, the hitting itself. I mean, like if you came into the beginning of the season saying that hey, both Alonso and Soto, as well as Lindor, Vientos, etc., would have these many hits, their RBIs, their slashing percentage, their on base percentage, their home runs, and the Mets would not be in making the wild card spot. You'd be like, what? We would love to have those numbers. With those numbers, they're making the playoffs. And lo and behold, that's what we're seeing here, basically. I mean, honestly, it was a case where like the hitters themselves were not picking each other up. Basically, it's like when they went on a slump, the entire team went on a slump. Quite honestly, like it's as though it's like each one cannot pick each other up. Basically, and I have no idea what happened with this. Honestly, I don't know what happens what's going to happen for next season, but I'm hoping Vientos could elevate his or raise his stock a little bit so that they could trade him for some serious prospects. Because quite honestly, I don't want another JD Davis situation again, like where he was doing really well with the Mets, and then when he sucked, they didn't get much for him. They got a rough for him basically, which was nothing. I mean, quite honestly, the other factor is like we surrendered all. I mean, look, I hate to say this, but like the Cards probably pulled a fast one on us. Well, they got rid of when they let Helsley go. Basically, they probably knew. They're like, hey, we could get some. The Mets are willing to take him on. Yeah, dump him and get some prospects. Granted, I don't know if the prospects that we're giving up are going to amount to anything. Time will only tell. It would be interesting to see. But the reality is like Helsley. I think he's done basically unless he reinvents himself. I think we're done with him basically. I think he's not going to be with the Mets next season. Quite honestly, the one thing I'm a little concerned about is the fact that what we traded for or what we surrendered for Rogers, that's a big one basically. I think Gilbert might be a big disappointment on our part, basically of letting him go. Basically, it might be another PCA situation. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's not doing so well. Look, take a look what he's doing right now." Yeah, but I mean, this guy's the linchpin. He's probably the linchpin that basically being in the dugout with that kind of attitude. That is probably like probably kind of been was that spark for the Giants to like move forward at that point. Gilbert would have been great in our dugout from that perspective. He probably would have helped out considerably, but I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, let's be honest. We literally are paying the Giants for Gilbert, basically to like have Gilbert there, basically because we basically traded Verlander for Gilbert, and basically we paid the Giants basically for not Verlander, it was Scherzer, we're paying Houston basically. We were paying Houston for Verlander for Gilbert, and basically we traded him White. So like we basically traded for nothing at that point. I mean, Rogers is doing decent, but like the bullpen also became a big culprit as well too. But again, I guess Alvarez, he's got to like fix himself up a little bit as well too. Quite honestly, I mean, like hopefully this offseason he corrects himself. Vientos, I'm hoping again like we could trade him. Batty, maybe we could trade him, one of those two, because one of these two guys is not going to be with the team next year. There's no way they're going to be with the team unless, of course, Alonso. That's the other factor is like with Alonso, what are Stearns and Cohen going to do with Alonso? Maybe they let him go and send off with another team basically because the fact of the matter of the fact is basically maybe because we had all these hitters that we became overconfident. Let's be honest. If Showalter with the team right now, all these small ball errors, mental errors, would have been been fixed along the season basically. Probably would have done back to basic training, middle of the season like one of those off days or like even during the All-Star breaks like hey we got to start working ourselves out, like fixing ourselves basically because all these mental errors, all these stupid base running errors, all these fielding errors that we're doing, we got to fix them. I mean Lindor, yeah, Gold Glover having these errors. I mean honestly I don't know. I hate to say this, but McNeil. He's not a your typical fielder, but he's a good hitter. So he might be DH. He might be best suited for DH, similar to Vientos. Vientos is probably more of a DH person than an actual. His fielding is horrible. Let's be honest. His fielding is horrible. Some of his errors caused some of these runs. So probably put Vientos as a DH. If we could trade him off to another team as a DH person and get some good prospects in return, yeah, I'd love it. Seeing McLean. I'm hoping it's not a situation where we said like the Yankees back when I'm going to age myself a little bit here, but back in 95, 96 when, the Yankees were, actually 95, like 92, 93 basically, or 91, when Sam Militello was like the hot stuff for the Yankees towards the tail end, and they were looking forward to him the next season, and he kind of sucked the next season. I'm hoping that's not the case with McLean because I'm hoping McLean can be that person that, becomes the true ace for the Mets, similar to Tong. I mean, he's showing, some brilliance here and there. I mean, like, it's just a matter of him rebounding. I loved how he rebounded after those two outings. He rebounded basically from those two outings, and, like, he was able to pick himself up and, like, pitch some really good, pitch really well in that game. Similar to Sprout. I mean, I think he's able to pick himself. I think next year we're going to see Sprout, Tong, and McLean, the top, they'll be the, like, the new three, basically, for the Mets, basically. And, like, we might hear them for here on out. Question is like, I don't know what to do with the center field. Basically, you have a center field issue. Basically, I mean Mullins. Works out really well defensively. Taylor, he didn't really do well compared to what he did last year. That's why they traded for Mullins. Mullins, maybe, I mean, I don't know what happens with Mullins. Marte, he was great for that aspect of being, the offensive linchpin every now and then. But at the same time, he wants to play every day. Yeah, you're gonna have to trade him because like he's not gonna be playing every day. You might as well trade him at this point. Similar to I guess McNeil. I think the Mets need to trade McNeil, get some prospects as a result from him. Basically at that point, if Alonso doesn't sign, then yeah, I could see them keeping Batty and Vientos, putting Vientos at first base, even though he's gonna suck at first base. But maybe we could work on it and put Batty at third, Mauricio on third, and then Batty at second or Mauricio on second. I don't know what happens there. Mauricio himself, he's showing some. He's showing some, I guess what you. I don't know, so I'm having a brain fart right now because like I'm just like surprised at the epic collapse. Quite honestly, the fact that the Mets can't win, the fact that they had the destiny was in their hands and they just let it slip. I was like, I don't know how this happened. Well, actually, I do know how this happened, but in reality, is Mauricio. I mean, honestly, he showed some flashes of brilliance, but reality is like I don't know what's going to happen. Acuna, he's a bust. Let's be honest. Acuna's a bust. He's not an offensive threat. He's more of like a base stealer more than anything else. If anything, maybe the Mets trade him off to the Braves. Let him play with his brother. Hopefully, we can get some good prospects in return because Acuna is not going to be a Mets for long. Quite honestly, we need a center field. We need and Nimmo. He did really well. I mean, honestly, he did pretty deep. He did pretty well. But when he was on a slump, he was in a slump. Similar to like when Lindor's in a slump, he's in a slump. I mean, Lindor. I hate to say this, but like, Lindor is the linchpin. He's the catalyst for the Mets. Basically, he's the one that basically, if he goes, the rest of the team seems to not produce at that point. I mean, honestly, Soto can do whatever he can to get the home runs, but if there's no one on base, one run doesn't matter at that point, unless it's like a close game. But some of these games aren't that close because why? The pitchers can't keep it in play, and as well as the fact is small mental errors defensively also cause these errors as well too. And that's why they're down by. They always lose by more than 2 runs basically. I I don't know what to say. I mean, like, let me know your thoughts. I mean, I want to believe they can win, but reality is, this is the Mets. They're not going to last. I don't know who becomes. Hopefully, maybe the Mets can bring in Carlos Beltran. Maybe Beltran becomes the commander that the Mets need because he's a guy that seems like he knows how to work with the players, but he knows if they have issues with small ball or more so specifically basic training 101 basically like for fielding as well as hitting. I think he'll be able to use that manager that could get them in that mood basically. That's why I think the thing is like I'm hoping that the Mets maybe put on Beltran if they let Mendoza go. The question is, will Mendoza be here? I don't know. And the other factor is I would love to keep Alonso based on what he was doing, but I don't think he's worth the money he's asking for. Like I don't think he's worth $400 million for 5 years. He's not worth that kind of money basically. Let him go off to whomever. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees sign him, or even the Angels sign him, or for that matter, I would not be surprised if the Cubs sign him. I wouldn't want him to see what the Cubs are. You know what? Cubs saying what they did, I think they're going to try to sign him at the end of the season. But only time will tell. We'll wait and see. With that, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your comments in the comment section. You're welcome to leave a comment. We can rant together about the Mets and like how they sucked horribly this year. I mean, they had some, pretty good, baseball here and there, but I mean, honestly, next year, all I can say is like I'm looking forward to next year. Looking forward to seeing McLean, Tong, and as well as Sprout pitching. Peterson, I don't know, maybe he becomes your 5th starter. Senga is like your number 4, number 5 as well too. Manea, I hate to say it, but you got to trade him out basically and get rid of him. And maybe the Mets build, or maybe Manea and Holmes become, your bullpen guys. I know Manea is going to hit it, but he's going to be an overpaid bullpen guy, but we need him basically that way. And the aspect is like Helsley, we're going to have to let go because Cardinals know what's going wrong with him. Rogers, I hate to say it, but like Rogers, if we don't sign him, then we basically paid for nothing, basically. Because if Gilbert becomes what I think he's going to become, we're going to really have issues at this point. And, we already done with PCA, and now we deal with the Gilbert. If he becomes a star with the Giants, I mean, yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Again, leave a comment in the comment section if you want to, and I do respond to them. I do read them all, and I do respond to when they want to respond. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you like my channel, please hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Yeah, with that unfiltered, unedited, of course, unrehearsed. Until next time.